Hello, welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and this is the monthly wrap-up for May of 2022. So this is a very late wrap-up. It is the second half of June when I'm finally getting around to this, but been very busy, not just throughout month, but June especially has been very, very busy. I did get some reading in, certainly, throughout the month of May, just didn't have a lot of time to film. So I'm going to very quickly go through the books that I read, that I finished in May. All of these books I have talked about more in depth on previous videos, either videos that were dedicated just to the individual book, or on the episodes of Fresh Read Kills, where I talk about multiple books that I have recently read. So I'm not going to go into depth with these books. I'm just going to kind of very briefly talk about them. So I read about 6 books. We got 4 works that deal with horror, and then I have 2 nonfiction historical works. So one of the first things I read in May is this novella, Come Forth in Thaw, by Jayson Robert DuCharme, and I hope I'm saying his name correctly. I'm not entirely sure. If not, I do apologize. And I read this for Horror Mayhem, where a booktube event where people are reading short horror fiction. And, you know, one of the reasons I love the title and also the very, very provocative image on the cover. And it takes its, I guess, almost inspiration, although that might be the wrong word, from the suicide forest of Japan. But what the author tries to do is to give a more thoughtful and nuanced story dealing with that and with mental health than what we saw, you know, within the past 10 years or so of horror. Certainly movies, maybe I'm guessing also some fiction that maybe I just haven't read, that exploited the suicide forest and didn't really seek to understand it. So the author tries to do something a little bit differently here. So instead, the forest in this one is in the United States. I think it's in New Hampshire, if I remember. Yeah, I think it was in the White Mountains. And it is a mother going to try and prevent her teenage son from killing himself, who she believes have gone to this suicide forest in order to end his life. And there is a twist in here that I kind of wasn't wild about, I have to say. That's more of a personal, preference for me. I don't think it would bother most people. It's just a certain horror trope that I kind of wish that would largely go away, at least for a while. But I'm glad that I read it. I did enjoy it overall. I think that certain aspects could have been expanded upon more, certain moments drawn out more for tension. But overall, I thought it was a pretty decent novella. I read also work of Gothic fiction, published in 1796, Matthew Lewis's The Monk. I read this with a great group, some booktubers, also booktube viewers, and we all, I think, had a really good time with this. I think we were all pleasantly surprised by just how readable and mostly fast-paced and just enjoyable overall this book was. We have Matthew Lewis. This is the first Gothic horror novel. The supernatural in this is real. We have the downfall of the monk of the title, and his kind of descent into sin and debauchery, and the price that is paid for that. We have ghostly nuns. We have demons. We have all sorts of human cruelty to each other. I can definitely see why a book like this was very controversial at the time. I do know that it was republished several times, and each time it was further edited. But it holds up, I would say. I think this book holds up very, very well. I am continuing to go through 18th and 19th century Gothic fiction with that the group that I was just mentioning. I don't think that we're going to get something as fun as this for a while again, but I really liked The Monk. I also read for Horror Mayhem Night Shift by Stephen King. published in 1978. This was his first short story collection, and a really, really good one. Of course, many of these stories have been made into films, so I was already mostly familiar with them. Some of these stories lent their titles to films, and the films really have nothing to do with the stories. I think, for the most part, all those stories are probably better than those films. But yeah, really, really solid. A nice mix in here. We have some kind of humorous stories, some action stories. We have a little bit of work of gothic fiction, and there are also some really, there's some, kind of ridiculous ones that are very goofy, but in a really good way. And also some that are surprisingly poignant and, emotionally heavy, and deal with some pretty rough things. So, yeah, I'm going to continue going through Stephen King whenever I can. Mostly, I think, in publication order, but that would mean that I would have to read The Stand next after this, and which I think came out the same year. I don't know which one came out first in that year, but I'll get to The Stand when I can. That's a big book, so we will see. But yeah, I'm really glad that I read this, and I really enjoyed Night Shift. And I also read a nonfiction work dealing with horror, and that is Sleeping with the Lights On, The Unsettling Story of Horror by Darryl Jones, published by Oxford University Press. And a quick primer on the horror genre, but one that doesn't deal with, it's not a list of films, it's not a list of books, it is more the function and theory of horror, and how it operates in art, how it relates to our lives. And I thought this did a very, very good job with that. And I was very thankful. It didn't go into a bunch of kind of psychoanalysis and Freudian theories. It really, looked at the development of certain aspects of the horror genre and gave us some pretty well-reasoned theories and ideas for what purpose they served. So if somebody's interested in just learning a little bit more about the horror genre beyond just, trivia and lists of, movies and books, I would recommend this. This was a very quick read, but one of the better primers that I've read. And two other nonfiction works that I read were two history books. So we've got Battling the Gods, Atheism in the Ancient World by Tim Whitmarsh. I read this for maybe Midrash, where people read books that deal seriously with religion, usually a nonfiction work and a fictional work. I considered The Monk my fictional work, and this was my nonfiction work. And Whitmarsh, he wants to view atheism differently than a lot of times it's discussed. People often talk about theism, a belief in a deity, as though it is the default setting of a human being, and therefore atheism is some kind of aberration. And he instead explores it as just one perfectly valid worldview among many. And that is how many people in the ancient world, at least the more polytheistic, Hellenistic world, viewed things. That atheism was, for the most part, not always, there were certainly instances where it was dangerous to be atheist and it could lead down a tough road. But for the most part, it was tolerated and even fully accepted if somebody had atheist views. One of the reasons being that polytheism, generally, at least here, how it operated, was more about what you did rather than what you believed. They didn't care if you believed in the gods, just make sure that you did your rituals and your sacrifices so that the crops didn't die, right? So then the neighbors wouldn't be looking at you for why everybody's starving. But we see atheism develop over time as first being meaning in the ancient world in an earlier time somebody who has been forsaken by the gods, to somebody who doesn't believe in the gods. And he has to use a very broad definition of what atheism is in order to really discuss it, because so much about atheism this time is about the absence, it's an absence of belief. It's not that these atheists were writing down their atheism. We know a lot about it. We know about them in many ways because they were written about by theists. So we're kind of dealing with, almost like a negative space that we're trying to pull through. By the time we get to the Roman world, we see atheism really as we understand it today. And then he starts seeing how the religion and the imperial state start mixing in a way where atheism becomes dangerous. But I thought this was very good. I really did like this, and I would recommend it if that sounds like a topic that you were interested in. And finally, the last history book I read, actually a very quick read, Blitz Drugs in the Third Reich by Norman Ohler, originally published in German. Of course, I read the English version. And it is like I said, it's a quick read, very short chapters, and there are plenty of graphics, illustrations, documents, going from teetotaler to junkie. There's also some humor throughout this as well. Really it looks at the Third Reich through the eyes of drug addiction. So everything from Pervitin, which is basically crystal meth being given to tank drivers during the Blitz, to what is likely a drug-dependent Hitler as the war progresses, being pumped full of narcotics by his doctor, which would maybe help to explain the shaking and the erratic behavior. And really how, drug addiction seems to be one of the things that helps to take down the Third Reich. I don't consider myself somebody who is deeply knowledgeable about the Third Reich. I know the basics, I know what the top Nazis are, I know some of the big events, but I don't know intimately the ins and outs. So for me, I found this to be a fun, accessible read. I'm sure there are people that can pick apart certain aspects of this that I just don't have the experience or knowledge to do. But I found it to be a very fun read. So that's Blitzed. So I think I had a pretty good month, actually, considering, I did end up getting pretty busy towards the end of the month, but I was still able to get a decent amount of books in. So once again, just do the quick rundown here. We got Come Forth and Thaw, a little novella. Got Matthew Lewis's The Monk, gothic horror from 1796. Sleeping with the Lights On, little nonfiction primer from about horror from Oxford University Press. Got Night Shift by Stephen King, his first short story collection. Battling the Gods by Tim Whitmarsh, about atheism in the ancient world. And finally, Blitz, Drugs in the Third Reich by Norman Ohler. The downfall of the Third Reich through the filter of drug addiction. So if you've read any of these, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. And as always, thank you, BookTube.